Today, something monumental, groundbreaking happened in Congress, and it may be the bipartisan moment we've been waiting for on economic action. And I cannot wait to tell you. Let's get into it. Today, this large bipartisan coalition released a united video statement claiming that they needed to deliver urgent, much-needed economic relief to people from all across the United States that were dealing with hardship and strife related to out-of-control inflation and cost of living needs that have driven up housing prices, car prices, grocery prices, and other costs across the United States. It has brought together members of Congress with as diverse of viewpoints as you can fathom, with everyone from AOC and Elizabeth Warren joining people like Patrick McHenry and Mitt Romney. Nearly all of the legislators cited the fact that there hadn't been an increase in pay for these Americans since 2009, which is when the last increase to the minimum wage brought it up to $7.25 an hour. Now, if you aren't aware, that's only $15,000 annually at 40 hours a week. And so citing the 2009 benchmark as the last time that an affordable increase was provided to Americans as their motivation for delivering this makes us wonder, why didn't they act sooner, knowing how big a struggle Americans were facing? Now, we don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. Obviously, we want to see change if change is needed because costs have gotten so high. So I want to show you some of the video statements so you can see just what's going to happen to help Americans and just what we can do to encourage legislation and let them know how we feel about it. Brace yourselves.
I think that it's important to have cost of living adjustments.
I think there needs to be at least an inflationary adjustment.
I think it should at least keep up with inflation.
It should probably go up with the cost of living.
Look, the average income in my district is $55,000 a year. A congressman makes $174,000 a year.
If I go back to my district, where the average salary in some places is $32,000, and I say I don't make enough when I make $174,000, they would go ballistic. I'd be out of office in a heartbeat. And yet, trying to maintain two places to live, have clothes in two places, have a car in two places, it's very difficult.
It's expensive.
Washington
Washington's
is
expensive.
expensive.
Wait, you thought I was talking about legislation to serve you, the American people. You thought that they cared that you were suffering, that your neighbors were suffering? No. No. This legislation they're advocating for is to give the members of Congress that currently get paid $174,000 a year plus $34,000 in reimbursements, to give them a pay raise because they can't afford their cost of living anymore because of inflation. That's why they're working together. It has nothing to do with you. Because making $174,000 a year while supporting two households on different parts of the United States is an insurmountable burden for them to bear. And they claim that because we haven't given much needed increases, that we're only attracting millionaires to Congress. And that if we simply paid them $100,000 more a year, that then everyday working Americans would be more likely to serve.
All of us ought to be concerned about the future in terms of who can afford to do this.
Do you want it to still be the House of the people, or do you want it to be only wealthy people?
As for their claims that if we only paid them more, we would start attracting everyday working Joes to come in and serve in Congress, and that they wouldn't need to seek other ways to make money, well, Mitt Romney's advocating for this pay increase because he says it's necessary, and he's worth $85 million. Ken Buck, who was featured in that video back in 2018, was worth $1.1 million and is now estimated to be worth over $2.5 million. Earl Blumenauer, who said that you don't want a bunch of millionaires in Congress and we need to incentivize people to work hard and pull themselves up by their bootstraps, his estimated net worth as of 2 years ago was $12,561,000. Back in 2018, Larry Bouchon, also featured in that video, was estimated to be worth $1.8 million, and that is estimated to be over $4 million today. As for our favorite congressional insider trading savant, well, right now, Nancy Pelosi, as of last year, was estimated to be worth $115 million. And as of 2018, Anna Eshoo, who was also in that video advocating for the desperate need for increases in pay for people like her who can't afford things while she was wearing a $10,000 coat, well, back 6 years ago, she was worth $2.2 million. That's expected to be over $5 million today. Now they've left out the part where those everyday working Americans could never get billionaires to give them enough money to get elected, or that Nancy Pelosi is worth $117 million, continues to insider trade to get more and more wealth at a rate faster than any other member of Congress. It couldn't possibly be that we have more millionaires per capita in Congress than in any known nation, job, or profession. No. No matter how loudly we stand on rooftops and mountaintops and scream with every bit of air in our lungs into a void, begging for the members of Congress to pay attention to the loss of our middle class, the loss of a path to wealth or prosperity for the working class of America, no matter how much we beg them to pay attention to wealth inequality and the suffering of small businesses and everyday working Americans, we watch in horror as they continue to advocate for the billionaires that pay them to do so. They pass laws that billionaires tell them to pass, and they ignore laws that are so desperately needed for the American people. And while Americans have not seen a pay raise since 2009 at $7.25 an hour or $15,000 a year, they are now advocating for themselves to get a 70% raise because it's going to make Congress more equitable. It's going to make it a more fair place, and we're going to see the working class work harder to serve there. Because it's not financially feasible right now. Are you telling me that somebody that's learned to live off $30,000 a year couldn't manage to make $174,000 a year work in 2 locations? No, we could. We are capable of budgeting our money. We are capable of living within our means because we've had no other choice. Because we don't get to not pay our bills. We don't get to print more money. However, the members of our legislature, the members of our Senate, our federal government, they print money like this and hand it to billionaires while ignoring the plight of their people. And that's why they believe that at $174,000, plus they also recently got like a $34,000 bonus to reimburse them for housing and transportation and food. They can't make that work. But they believe if we gave another $100,000, everyday Americans would be more likely to serve. We would love to serve. But we can't get a billionaire to give us $13,000 a day in fundraising so that we're allowed to compete with you dinosaurs that won't get the fuck out. What's really hard to say out loud is that the members of Congress are probably right. It probably is expensive and difficult to pay for 2 households on $174,000 a year, which makes it so much worse that they think it is totally acceptable to expect an everyday American family to live with a minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. These people are complaining about inflation and cost of living increases that were created because they are so addicted to printing money for the billionaires that pay them to print more money for them, that they put us in this position willfully and then left us to fend for ourselves. Trust and believe that when given the opportunity to disappoint us, no member of Congress will ever fail in that endeavor. It is long since time that we came together and realized that they don't work for us. They don't work for us. They don't. If having enough money would stop insider trading, the people worth $100 million in Congress wouldn't be doubling their net worth every 2 years. Insider trading. They would say they have enough and they don't need to do that anymore and start serving their people. But once you have that little taste, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And they cling to it like a goddamn barnacle or fungus that can't let go. Creening and craving for more and more. And they will take and take and take and take with everything they have until they are a decrepit dinosaur in a wheelchair with their aides raising their hands to vote aye because they don't even know where the hell they are and they're about to pass away. Not retired with their grandchildren in their cushy Senate retirement fund, but staying there capturing every penny, dollar, and ounce of power they can until the pine box comes for them. Because all of that is better than doing their jobs for us. It is long since time for the American people to come together and recognize unequivocally that our politicians no longer serve us. Could it be because they're all millionaires? Sure, maybe. That might be why. But even the ones that get to Congress not millionaires leave as millionaires because they get a taste of the power. They get a taste of those donations and all of those speaking fees and the book deals and all of the little handouts and those fancy dinners and the black limo rides and all of the things that come with billionaires like currying your favor. and they cling to it like they're trying to hold onto the ground to keep from flying off the earth. Well, let me tell you, it's time for us to spin it a little bit faster. We need to let them know that they should fear us more than they fear losing donations. We are capable of wondrous things if we only set down our differences and stop allowing them to divide us so we can work together to take back our power and our voice. We have to be able to look further than the divisions they've laid out in front of us to keep us apart. I know that sounds hard. I know that sounds terrible. But I believe we are capable of that and so much more. And so I hope you join me. I hope you start battling with me to take back the beauty that is America's possibility, to reinstate it for the working class Americans, and to let 435 millionaires know that because they don't work for us, they're not going to work at all. We can replace them. And if we start to replace them, if we start to vote out incumbents instead of parties, what will happen is that the next group will fear for their jobs and they will start listening. And when we vote out the next round of incumbents, they'll listen more and they'll listen more. And then everything will change. Honestly, aside from banning TikTok, can you find any other issue where you would see this huge, broad, bipartisan support for a problem that is advocated for by people with as broad and wide apart issue perspectives as is human, like Elizabeth Warren and AOC alongside Mitt Romney and Patrick McHenry? No, but trust me, if they need to give themselves a pay raise, we're best friends. We're best friends. We can't do that for the American people. We can do it for companies. We can give socialist handouts to companies. We can fund companies and their losses all day because they're not allowed to fail. But Americans, they can fail endlessly, and we will watch as it happens and sit back and give ourselves a pay raise. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany. Generally, we work together to fight private equity, to save small businesses in our community, and today, to stand together, to fight for Americans and our economic prosperity, and to remind Congress that they don't have job security and they work for us. This bipartisan coalition of legislators could never come together to serve the needs of you and me, the